You've made the choice to be informed by Africa 24, and you were right. This is the channel that puts Africa first. In this edition of the interview, we are joined by His Excellency Olusegun Obasanjo, former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Together, we will explore ways of how Afreximbank is helping to build a borderless, opportunity-driven Africa through trade, innovation, and cultural capital. Your Excellency, welcome to Africa 24.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. In collaboration with the AFCFTA Secretariat and the AU, Afreximbank has set up a $10 billion agreement fund just to help countries participate effectively in the AFCFTA. In your opinion, what is the next step to be taken to make this free trade area a reality?
Well, for intra-African trade to really take place as we want it to take place. One, there's need for information, for people to know what we produce, where, and for what. Now, that information, Afreximbank has also taken on hand to make it available. I didn't know, for instance, how much milk Uganda produces until I was at a meeting with the Deputy President of Uganda. And she told me we produce 4 billion liters of milk. I couldn't believe. And when I went to Uganda to find out, they actually produce more than 5 billion liters of milk. Now, Nigeria needs milk. We are importing from Europe, and here is milk in the Republic of Uganda. And there's Uganda Airways coming to Nigeria almost on a daily basis. So you have it there. That information is one. Second is infrastructure. You need infrastructure to be able to move goods and move personnel. Transportation, on one hand, communication, as I've said, another, energy, even for production. This is very important. The third one is actually producing. It's one thing to have what our leaders have done and have agreement and all that. But if you have nothing to transact, then what are we talking about? So you must produce to transact business. And you must add value also. And there's no reason if you produce cocoa in West Africa and East Africa needs chocolate, why can't they import cocoa bean or cocoa powder and turn to chocolate in East Africa? It will be cheaper, it will be better, it will be adding value on both sides. I would say these are some of the things. And of course, the payment. Now, if I'm importing milk, Nigeria is importing milk from Uganda, you don't need to have to look for dollar. You don't need to have to look for euro. Because the man who's selling milk in Uganda doesn't need dollar. You need the Ugandan shilling. You provide the Ugandan shilling, and the man here in Nigeria needs Nigerian naira to be able to buy. Well, but he has to now look for naira. When he gets naira, turn naira to euro or to dollar, and of course. But again, Afreximbank has started PAPS, which is Pan-African Payment System, which again can our central banks of all African countries should come together and make that work. And when you have goods, you have infrastructure, and you can pay with local currency, I believe we will increase intra-African trade by more than 50% of what it is now.
Thank you, Excellency. Under Professor Benedict Orama's leadership, the Pan-African Bank posted record results of $973.5 million in net profit in 2024. Can you comment on his achievements in the past decade, and what challenges do you think are ahead of the next president?
Well, let me put it this way. President Orama has rammed the African Development Bank upwards in the last 10 years, beyond imagination of any of us. He has taken that bank beyond the level that we could ever imagine in every way. And as I've just said, he has brought in initiative, innovation, different initiative that have really made intra-African trade easier and more developed. I praise him, and I praise him for showing leadership, showing courage, and showing what he himself called the African best practice. Now, and I offer my heart for him for that, because we shouldn't go for received ideas and for what people think. The narrative should be our own. The idea should be our own, what worked for us. And like one of the leaders said at this annual meeting yesterday or day before, look, we are using instruments that were not designed for us to do business by ourselves, and we don't have control. These instruments we are not in charge of them. We are not controlling them. Anything that is not meant for you, that you are not in charge of, and that you are not in control of, how can you make it work for you? And then now we have somebody like Orama with Afreximbank is designing for us what will work, is consulting around, is making use of what is available to achieve what we want to achieve. Now, in terms of, I don't go by numbers. I go by reality, what I see on the ground. And what I see on the ground is progress. What I see on the ground is marvelous advancement. What I see on the ground as the chairman of Advisory Council on Intra-African Trade Fair is something that boggles the mind. And, well, I will want to wish President Orama success in his future endeavors. I will want to wish him rest and sense of fulfillment. And he has fulfilled. As he put it yesterday, promise made and promise kept. He has made promise, he has kept his promise, he has put Africa, particularly intra-African trade, above what we could imagine. Now, I understand it's now at about 18%. I believe there's no reason whoever takes over from President Orama not to make it to go to 40%. There's nothing to stop us doing that if we have the commitment of our leaders. We have the agreement, is implementing the agreement as we should implement it. I've talked about infrastructure. We are still weak on infrastructure. I believe that if we have thriving coastal shipping, working and thriving, we will increase our intra-African trade by 10%, just having thriving coastal shipping. Now, these are some of the things that I will expect the successor to President Orama in Afreximbank to take up. And the same way that some of us have been, what will I call it, patrons. I think that's the best word I can use. Patrons of Afreximbank all these years. We will continue to be patrons of Afreximbank, and we will support the next president as we have supported those who have gone before him.
Despite persistent challenges, Africa remains home to many of the world's fastest growing economies. What gives you the most hope about Africa's future, and what message will you send to global financial communities still hesitant to invest in Africa?
Well, fastest growing economies, I like that. Well, some countries in Africa are really fast growing economies, but we need more African countries to be fastest growing, or to join the league of fastest growing economies in the world. I believe that anything very close to double digit should be the rate of growth of African economy, so that every 7 to 8 years we are doubling our GDP. And if we do that, in a generation, we will be able to get to where I would say we should be. Now, so faster growing economy, yes, we need more countries to join the league of faster growing economies in the world. What do we need to do there? I think we also need to work together. There should be cooperation, collaboration. Working in silos doesn't help. In working together, those who have will give to those who do not have enough. And then we will move together forward. I like that African adage, which says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but you won't go far. If you want to go far, go together. But in our case, we want to go far and we want to go fast. That means we have to go together alone. We have to go together alone. That will make us go fast and go far. And that's what it's real.
Your Excellency, we spoke about infrastructure, we spoke about trade, but cultural capital is often an untapped resource in economic planning. How do you see Africa's creative industries and heritage contributing to the continent's long-term economic strategy?
Well, I said one of my contributions during this meeting that the money of the Fund for Developing Africa, or even Global South, not just Africa, is there within Africa and from outside Africa. What is important is we must do what we must do, and we must not do what we must not do. What must we not do? We must stop waste. Waste is not right. We must stop corruption. Waste and corruption are strange bedfellows with development, with growth. They don't go together. And then what must we do? We must have the right type of policies that will encourage investment, that will encourage growth, that will encourage people to really work hard. There must be reward for hard work. And, of course, there must be mobilization of resources internally. Now, what are we doing with our sovereign wealth fund? What are we doing with our health insurance fund? These can be employed profitably within Africa, instead of sending them out. What we have to do is to make sure that when those funds are required, they haven't been frittered away in corruption, in waste, or in projects that are what I call useless projects, either for prestige rather than productive projects. Then we must incentivize investment from outside. Now, if people have confidence in our politics at home, in our economy, in our policies, they will want to invest. But if there's no stability, political, economical, and there's no predictability, there's no peace, there's no security, who will want to risk its resources or fund in such a situation? So there's political issue that we have to pay attention to. There's economic issue that we have to pay attention to. There's social issue that we have to pay attention to. And if we pay the right attention to all these, well, fund for the capital for development or fund for development will be easily available. And the thing again is that why should I not invest my fund or my money where I can get a return of 10% if all other things are equal? Why shouldn't I invest in that rather than go to invest in a treasury bill where we only get 3.5% or 4%? But treasury bill more reliable, steady, predictable. Now, if investment in a country where I can get 10% return is also stable, peaceful, predictable, sustainable, and security is assured, I will do that. I would rather earn 10% on my investment than 3.5% or 4%. It's simple, and we should understand that yes, the investor is a hard-headed calculator, but it takes a lot into consideration before you can make his money available to you. And what we want to do is give conditions, make sure that we have conditions that we make the investor or the fund to come rushing to us. And that can be done, and it should be done.
Well, Your Excellency, one last question. The new president of Afreximbank is Mr. George Elambi. What do you wish for him while you think of this man?
Well, I think I know him. And the first thing I will say is I congratulate him. One thing that Afreximbank had done, and which I commend Afreximbank for, they have maintained the what I call continuity of the chain of command. Continuity of chain of command. The first president, any important thing, event for Afrexim, he will be invited, he'll be there. The second will be invited, he'll be there. Actually, Ekran is my deputy as chairman of our Advisory Council on the Inter-African Trade Fair. I hope that there will also be a place for President Rama, now that is giving the baton to the new president. And of course, all along all these years, I have developed a strong back to carry any president of Afreximbank, and my back is still strong, and I will say it's available for the new president, and I wish him every success in his new position. I think the road has been fairly well paved, but it has to continue, and then it has a good precedent to follow. I wish him well.
Your Excellency, this takes us to the end of our discussion. It was a pleasure to have you on Africa 24.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Ladies and gents, here comes the end of this program, but please stay tuned to Africa24tv.com and on the app My Africa 24.